Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today my cold has got a lot worse, so we're going to see how we do. It was like yesterday. It's going to be a much better video. I'll have way more time tomorrow. Well, I'm not doing anything today because I feel so awful, but I'm going to get through these three blue books. I have quite a lot of blue books, and that's just the standalones that I haven't read up here, so I had a hard time picking them, but I kind of looked at them like I got all the blue books together, and then I thought, like in my frame of mind, like right now, like what I'm in the mood for, which of these would I like want to pick the soonest, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to start with The Butterfly Cabinet by Bernie McGill. This is, we talked about a Belfast book for our yellow ones, Running with the Reservoir Dogs, so that's where I live, Belfast, but I also have a caravan up at our north coast near the beach, and there is a town not far from there called Portstewart, and this is set in Portstewart, so where I've holidayed the most of my life. It is, I believe, based on a true story, but it is fictionalized, but it's based on a true story. On a remote estate in the north of Ireland, a little girl dies and the community is quick to condemn her mother, Harriet Osmond. Now, after 70 years, Maddie McGlade, a former nanny at the house, knows that the time has come to reveal her role in the events of the day. From Maddie's reminiscence and Harriet's long-concealed diaries emerges an unforgettable story of motherhood and betrayal, and of two women, mistress and servant, inextricably, it's a hard word to say with a cold, connected by an extraordinary secret. So this seems to be, there genuinely seems to have been, I believe it was in the well, I think the 70 years later bit is, like, I think the book is set in the 60s. So it would have been like the late 1800s in which the murder takes place, and I think that is genuine enough, and I think I need to look more into this. It was actually my dad recommended this book to me. He was on a historical tour of Portstewart. He was up one weekend, like at the caravan on his holidays, and he was in Portstewart, and there was like a historical walking tour, and he thought he would take it, and they actually mentioned the family and the crime and this book, and he's not a big reader, but he said like it sounded like, when the tour guide mentioned like the thing, it sounded really interesting, and he didn't really tell me much about it. He just said that there was like this little girl disappeared and there was this whole thing about it, which is really genuine, but they have written this book about it, and it is a local author as well that has written the book, so it's not someone coming in, it's someone who lived in the town and really knew it. So again, this will be good for me. I'll know all the place names and stuff, and I think it'll be really interesting. And we're at the caravan this weekend, so we're heading up there, so this would be something that I would really love to take to the caravan and read while up there. So I'm sure nobody has heard or read this book, so I'd be really interested if you have. And my next one is the first in a trilogy, and that is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, and this is a fantasy series which has just cleaned up the Hugo Award 3 years in a row as the books came out. I have the whole series. I bought them all together. It was a really funny story. I think I hauled this book in a haul. I think it was in the new year that I got it, and I had wanted to read this, but I like to wait till series comes out, and then if I'll know, like, going in, like, is there a really good chance that I'll really like the series, and if so, I wait until they all come out, and then I try to get them all, like, really cheap, and then I'll read them so that I can read them back to back if I want to. And I really knew that I wanted to read this series, and I found the second one in a discount bookshop for £1, and I thought, well, should I get that or should I not get that? Because I'd get the second one, and then I could maybe go and find the first and the third cheap, but then if you don't get them cheap, and maybe it would be cheaper to wait and get them in a box set. So I set it back down, and then I was browsing the rest of the shop, and I found the third one for £1 in a completely different part of the shop. And I was like, well, I should definitely get 2 or 3 because I can probably pick one up like maybe online cheap. So if they're both £1, like it doesn't matter. If I have to pay dear for the first book to have the series, it'll be fine. So I went up to the till with 2 and 3, and the lady at the till was like, this is the second and third. And I was like, yeah, you don't have the first, but like I don't mind, I'll pick it up somewhere else. And she was like, I think we do have the first, let me go and look. And she went and looked in a completely different again part of the shop and found the first one for £1. So I got all 3 for £3, which was an absolute steal. So this is it's a fantasy series. This is the way the world ends for the last time. Like that just to start, my eyes and everything are like so like puffy and watery because of this cold. Ugh. It starts with the Great Red Rift. Across the heart of the world, sole continent spewing ash that blows out the sun. Or that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal. A long, dormant wound rising up to fester. This is the stillness. A land long familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon and where there is no mercy. But I've just heard like absolutely fantastic things about the whole series, and I have the full series, but at the minute I'm reading the Inheritance Cycle, which is a fantasy series, and I have 2 more books left in that, so I'm hoping to finish them. Maybe finish like the 3rd one this month, and then maybe read the last one in August, or do August and September, I don't know, but really I would like to finish the Inheritance Cycle and then get through this series before the end of the year. Why am I putting this back on my shelf? All the other books I've just sat down, but there's it back on the shelf anyway. And the last one is The Alienist. This is again one that I managed to pick up very cheap in a sec. So floppy, but the text is so tiny. It's going to be a long book to read. But this has been made into a Netflix series now. I think that's why it was cheap, like a nasty Netflix cover. But I had heard like things about it beforehand. People had recommended to me. I'd heard a lot when I was in bookshops, like people coming in and being like, do you have The Alienist? So that kind of like perked up my ears a wee bit, and it just seems to be a kind of a mystery thriller. New York City, 1896. Hypocrisy in high places is rife, police corruption is commonplace, and a brutal killer is terrorizing young male prostitutes. Forensic and psychological profiling are still in their infancy, but as the body count rises, I really can't talk today. Police Commissioner Theodore Roosevelt calls on the eminent psychologist or alienist Dr. Laszlo Krelzer? No idea. And crime reporter John Schockler-Moore, I'm really bad with names today, my brain isn't working, to trial these new methods. Keisler, Moore and their team must venture into the darkest corners of New York and to the human mind, catch the sadistic killer before he strikes again. So basically it is an FBI profiler, so Criminal Minds, but set in 1896 New York. So to me that sounded really interesting, and again I picked this up at a discount shop for very little money. It just sounds really, it sounds like one you could just kind of really shut off your mind and like go into and like really just enjoy it in the time, whether it's great literature or not. So I was going to show you the 3 books, but my mind for some reason put the other one away. I'm sure quite a lot of you have read the 5th season. If you have, please gush down below about how good it is, because I really, really need to get on that. I would be really shocked if anyone has heard of this, and if you have read this, or the Netflix series, or both, let me know as well. So that is the blue books that are quite high on my TBR. Unless I am even sicker tomorrow, which I find hard to believe, I will see you then for purple books, and I think that's the last one. I was going to do a white and black, like books I want to read, but I think I'll just leave it at the colours. So we'll do purple tomorrow, and then that'll be us. I hope you're all happy, I hope you're all healthy, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.